my duties in Jefferson City don't allow me to be with you at your luncheon, I have for you some comments regarding immigration. As you know, it's been a hot topic now for about 3 years, and nowhere does it affect anybody as much as it does in Missouri's industry, Missouri's commerce, and its economic development. I was just thinking recently about some of the past comments I have read in my research on immigration and the debate that's been raging, and I made a summary of some of these past comments that I came across. Comments include things like, these people, these illegal immigrants, they're ignoring our laws, they're challenging our nation's sovereignty, they're not paying taxes for what they earn, but yet they're using our services. They don't share our religion or respect our culture. They engage in acts of slavery and even prostitution, among other things. Many are criminals or outcasts of their own country. Our citizens who are helping these illegal immigrants are in fact traitors and harming all of us. They carry out these illegal immigrants, they carry our Constitution in their pockets around with them as if they have an ownership in it, and they claim rights and liberties from our Constitution. Now these complaints, these past complaints I just summarized, and I'm sure you're hearing them now, these complaints actually weren't made in the last year or last 2 years or even the last 50 years. These complaints were made in the early 1800s and the early 1820s by Mexican citizens who were complaining about American illegal immigrants into what is now our southwestern United States. Now, I don't mention these past complaints to resurrect a debate about whether or not America should include the southwestern states. That's not the issue. I raise those complaints to point out something that has to be remembered as we legislate in these areas, and that is that it is equally as expected, it's equally reasonable for one person to believe as a citizen of the nation that they should protect their sovereignty and that their laws should be respected. And on the other hand, it is reasonable to expect that a person will seek by all measures a way to better their own life and the life of their family. And it's from those two vantage points that I've always looked at this issue. Why do I do that? Because I am the only Mexican American who's serving in the Missouri General Assembly. My grandparents immigrated from Mexico at the turn of the 20th century during the Revolution, and my entire life has been around the Mexican American community, and I feel in touch with these immigrants. And I have come across both legal and illegal immigrants in my lifetime prior to serving in the legislature. So it's from that vantage point and understanding of the two sides of this issue that I've tried to approach these questions of serving in the General Assembly. And fairness is important. It's important that we have fair laws and just laws, and it's important that people follow the law. I wanted to be sure and give you some background about Hispanics in the U.S. and in Missouri, which gives you an idea, at least from the Hispanic perspective, which tends to align a little bit with the business's perspective of what we're looking at in terms of empirical facts. By 2004, 14% of U.S. population became Hispanic. And over 80% of the Hispanics in the United States are here legally. Now, I would also note that we have obviously a very diverse type of immigrant population in Missouri, which includes Asians and people from the Middle East and India and many other places. And their statistics tend to run similar in a lot of ways to Hispanics with regard to the number that arrive here legally versus undocumented. But for the purposes of today's commentary, I'll focus on Hispanics because that's the area that seems to draw the most interest, and of course they do make up the dominant portion of immigrants and illegal immigrants in our nation. By 2050, one in 5 Americans will be of Hispanic descent. That's 20%. And bear in mind, that is, of course, descending from people that are 80% likely to be here legally. So most of those people will be American citizens at that time. 50% of the U.S. Hispanic population is under the age of 50 years old. That makes the Hispanic population in our state a young population in comparison to the aging nature of the American population. 85% of Hispanics are under the age of 18, are born in the U.S. The present buying power of the American Hispanic, the American-based Hispanic, if you want to call it that, is $736 billion annually. The estimated buying power by 2010 will be $1 trillion. Remittances to Mexico alone, that's money sent home to support families and businesses, or primarily families in Mexico, for people working here in the United States, has reached $45.8 billion. And be mindful, that only represents 1/3 of their earnings while they're here in the United States. That puts their actual earnings at over $137 billion, 2/3 of which is reinvested back into our economy in some fashion. $91.6 billion is being spent and reinvested in the U.S. economy at a minimum by that calculation. Now, that's important to remember because it recognizes how involved the Hispanic community is in working in our general economy. And it also shows you that the earning and buying power is something to be reckoned with and something that Wall Street and many major corporations have become involved with in terms of pursuing messaging and marketing and things like that. And I don't blame them. When over 80% of the Hispanic population is here legally, that makes them a very large target market. And it's important to note also that the buying power numbers that I presented, the $736 billion of buying power, that is more buying power than all of Central America combined right now. And it's on the rise. Now, in Missouri, illegal immigrants generate about $29 million to $57 million annually, while their costs to the state, services that they draw from the state, are estimated to be a combined total of about $20 million. So when you hear debate about illegal immigrants into the state of Missouri, you hear both sides. You actually more normally would hear one side of the issue most times, what they cost us. But there is also a contribution they make to our economy. As you can see, their contribution is substantial, and their cost is substantial. On the whole, it seems to wash each other out. But there again, we have to be mindful that they are here illegally working, and that there are a host of other problems that arise when somebody is here working illegally. It's really important that we begin to recognize that part of our immigration problem is really the basics of supply and demand for labor. There are willing hands for open jobs and willing employers to hire those hands. And we should make every effort to match those jobs up with Americans, but at the same time, we shouldn't put our economy on hold waiting for America to show up. If somebody's willing to be there and work hard and work every day, and Americans aren't filling the jobs, we need to find ways to mix and match so that we can continue growing our economy. And that, of course, is a federal issue, and that's something that I can't really speak much on or have much influence on other than when I talk to my local congressman. But I think that's an important part of the equation. And I believe that if we're willing to be patient and not act out of anger when we legislate and focus on what the empirical facts are, that we will be able to come up with reasonable and humane ways of deterring illegal immigration and satisfying the demand of the public, and ultimately doing it in a way that keeps Missouri moving forward and keeps our economy strong. Thank you for listening.